Let's review the answers to our 4 questions. Let's take a look at the first question. What is the article mainly about? The correct answer for this question is B. Why 4 women were honored for their work in the space program. We know A is not a correct answer because it is not mostly about the day they received the award. It does tell us that they received an award on a specific day, but the whole article is not about just the date. C is also not correct because it is not telling us how a woman helped the first person land on the moon. It does let us know that their work helped someone land in the moon, but it is not all about her having someone land on the moon. And D, what book about 4 women was turned into a movie, is also incorrect because it does tell us in the text that their book, Hidden Figures, was turned into a movie, but it's not what the entire article is about. We could also use the gist we wrote about the whole article to help us answer this question. Remember that our gist for this article was that 4 women were given an award for all their work in the NASA space program, and B tells us why 4 women were honored for their work in the space program. The gist is what we mostly learn about, or what it's mainly about, and answer choice B and our own gist match up. Now let's look at the second question. What is the section "The Women Did Important Work for NASA" mainly about? Again, we can use the gist that we had written earlier about this section or chunk 2 to help us find the answer to this question. We wrote that each of the women contributed important work for NASA, or each of them gave part of their work, or they helped throughout NASA. And let's see if we can find an answer choice that matches with that. A says what things the 4 women did for NASA. That one sounds pretty right. And I did tell you that it is the right answer, but let's go through each answer and see why the other ones were not correct. B, how the 4 women got jobs at NASA. It never tells us in the article exactly how they were able to land their job at NASA. It just let us know that they worked at NASA and did a really great job while they worked there. So we can cross that one off because it's not what it was mostly about. C, when the 4 women received a medal. Again, it was mostly about all of the work that each woman did, not mostly about when they got their medal. And D, why the 4 women wanted to be engineers. It does tell us they were engineers, but it doesn't tell us exactly or tell us all about why they wanted to be an engineer. And remember, our key word here is mainly. What was it mostly about? And it was mostly about what things the 4 women did for NASA. And if you think back to the article, each paragraph was about each woman and what they each did for NASA. Now let's look at our third question. The third question is what happened because of Katherine Johnson? Let's take a look at all of the answer choices. A says women were treated fairly at NASA. B, astronauts returned safely from space. C, the way spacecrafts were made changed. Or D, many people learned to program computers. The correct answer was B, because if we look back into the paragraph that is all about Miss Johnson, it says that her work made sure they could return safely. And they is referring to the astronauts because it says she figured out the flight paths for astronauts. Her work made sure they could return safely. The correct answer for this one was B. And let's look at the last question. The last question asked, why did Mary Jackson go to an all-white school? Was it A, to make sure that students were treated fairly, B, to try to rise to a high position at NASA, C, to learn to map out flight paths for astronauts, or D, to take classes so she could be an engineer? If we look at the paragraph that is all about Miss Jackson, it says that she wanted to become an engineer. She was told to take a class. The classes were only offered at an all-white high school. So why did she go to an all-white high school? She wanted to take a class, and she had to take that class to become an engineer. And we see that in answer choice D, to take classes so she could be an engineer.